Hey everybody, Justin here again, just shooting another quick video talking about why we do what we do, and then kind of other things that are certainly available to us and what you may or may not want to consider in terms of different style formats of exercise. Okay, so let's get into it. Why would anyone do endurance activity? It's a great form of exercise. Primarily, what you should be going for if you're going to spend the majority of your time here is heart health, right? And the reason that is the case is because muscles are constantly burning turnover, okay? So what I mean by that is that our adipose tissue, our fat is not constantly being turned over, right? Our fat is only used as energy under certain circumstances, under certain settings. Muscle is constantly being burned, right? Now that's whether you're sedentary, so whether you're not moving at all, or whether you are Lance Armstrong's a bad example. The Rock, right? So you have lots of muscle. It doesn't matter. Muscle is constantly being turned over, right? Muscle is metabolically expensive, so you have to. If your goal is to maintain any amount of muscle, you have to eat appropriately. So the right amount of protein based off of your body. And then you also have to actually train the muscles that you want to keep. Okay, so hold on to that point. Okay, so if you look at endurance athletes, and when I say endurance athletes, what I mean is our competitive endurance athletes. I don't mean like in people who are fans of doing endurance. Is like, hey, I really like to run a lot, and that's great. But there's a huge difference between running a 5K or running a half marathon or running a full marathon at a competitive pace versus a slow pace. And the reason it's important to understand that is because if you're running at a competitive pace, yes, are you doing an endurance activity? Absolutely. But to run at a competitive pace, you have to exhibit a certain amount of power. And it's important to understand that because what happens is people, they say, okay, Justin, I'm 250 pounds, I want to lose 100 pounds. I see runners are thin, so if runners are thin and I were to run, then I would be thin. No. What you'd have to consider is how fast that person is running. Is it possible to run a 5-minute, 4-minute mile while having a significant amount of fat? No. Is it possible to run a 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute mile while having a significant amount of fat? Absolutely. People do it all the time. Okay? So it's important to understand that if someone comes to me and they say, you know what, Justin, I need to work on my heart health, I would absolutely write them a plan where they would be doing a lot of walking and working their way up to jogging and working their way up to running. Okay? Strength. Strength is primarily a matter of muscle building or again, probably maintaining muscle, right? So someone comes to me. In fact, strength really applies to older individuals, okay? So when I say older, I mean 60, 70, 80 years old, okay? The great thing about strength is that you can't have power without strength. So strength kind of precedes power. Okay? So when people first come into Fit for Life, and they start with me, the first thing we have to have established is a foundation of strength, right? So you have to be able to do certain things with your body weight before we can really get into anything else, and that's just the way it is, right? For safety reasons, because obviously if you walk in and we jump straight to power, then there's a high chance that you could hurt yourself, and that's obviously not at all what I want. So that's where strength falls into play, right? Now, power. Power is where we spend a lot of our time here at Fit for Life. So think about kickboxing, think about boot camp, think about personal training. Once you've kind of been in personal training for a while and you've developed enough strength to where we can focus on power. And the reason we focus on power is because power speaks directly to burning fat. Now, not just fat, but adipose tissue, right? Nothing about endurance activity. Nothing about endurance activity tells your body to lose fat. If you're trying to lose fat through endurance, then you're simply playing a numbers game. So you're going to need to run a lot all the time. And what people don't talk about enough is the fact that you still have to follow a nutrition plan. So if you engage in a lot of endurance activity, but then you still eat in some way that you might have made up, then you're not going to have any results. You're going to improve your heart health, which is very good, but you're not going to actually lose any fat. If you don't believe me, a great study for you to read would be the Women's Health Initiative. They spent millions of dollars, and they took thousands of women, and they made them exercise, and they cut their calories. None of these women lost any weight. What they did do, though, was they gained more fat around the midsection, okay? Because the stress of doing all this activity without the nutrition plan just said, okay, well, that's fine. We're just going to, this is just overwhelming the liver that much more with all this, chronic stress, like from the last video, chronic stress of doing it all the time. So then, fine, we'll just store it at the midsection, and that's no good. Now, strength. Men, this is a mistake that a lot of men make in terms of losing weight, right? So let's say your husband or boyfriend decides that he wants to lose some weight. So he goes to the gym and then he does thousands of reps of bicep curls and bench press, right? So maybe a little bit of cardio, but most of the time he's just lifting weights. Now, there's no, you can stimulate fat burning hormones here, but the problem is that you have to, the recovery takes too long, right? So if you bench press as heavy as you possibly can, then what happens is you have to take like 2 minutes of rest. So you got to sit there and you're playing Angry Birds on your phone, right? And then you do it again. And so then you have people who go to the gym every single day and they lift weights every single day. Stomach is still big, they're still overweight, but again, for the guys, a lot of times, so like their arms get bigger and they look kind of like that security guard, like they used to bounce at the club or something. And that's not necessarily what we're going for. Okay. Now, power. Right? And I talk a lot about the sprinters. I'm going to find some better examples like volleyball players and so forth. But athletes who engage in power are just about always thin in the midsection, right? Everything else really kind of depends on the person. But for the most part, you can't move the way that you need to move doing certain sports like basketball, like volleyball, like soccer, like track and field, and then have this big midsection. Baseball, all day long, right? Bowling, absolutely. Even powerlifting, you can still be relatively large. Sumo wrestling, same thing. These guys are extremely strong, but they have a lot of fat. Power, you want to spend the majority of your time here, right? Your female sprinter may weigh like around 130 pounds, right? What we care about, not so much the fact that they weigh 130 pounds, but they can regularly squat twice their body weight, which means, ooh, that's the T, which means that the 130 pounds they're going to be squatting 260 pounds. Do I want you to squat twice your body weight? Absolutely, positively not. What I want you to see, though, is that for the lean body that we are aspiring to, it makes the most sense if we're starting up here where we're overweight, right? We can start with endurance just in terms of getting us started, but then we very much need to transition to strength, and then we very much need to spend our time focusing on power once we finish these two, because power specifically tells our body to lose the weight, and it also engages our fast twitch muscle fibers, which will stay with us. Right? Here, slow twitch. With endurance activity, you're breaking your entire body down. You're breaking the fat down, you're breaking your body down, and you're going to look broke down if you spend all your time here. Okay? Now here, you're trying to get in and you're trying to get out. Right? This is acute stress, this is chronic stress. Chronic stress is going to break everything down, so you're going to have small arms, small legs, big tummy, best case scenario. Here, you're going to have a small tummy, you're going to have strong legs, and then as long as we're not taking this and applying it, let's say, to our arms or to our back or to any muscles that we don't necessarily care too much about, then we're going to get the look that we want. So if you notice, we spend a lot of our time glutes, thighs, hips. Glutes, thighs, hips. Glutes, thighs, hips. personal training boot camp, glute biceps all day long. Because if we don't, and we do manage to follow our nutrition plan, because our nutrition plan is what's going to get the weight off of us, then it's very likely that our muscles within our legs will leave us, right? And so then we're going to have a very flat look from the waist down. Okay? So this is already too long. I'm going to go. See you later. Next time.